Back again. Hey guys, welcome back to Barside Jive live after another lengthy vacation. We just keep having these like lengthy vacations and hey, best made plans. I am DC, your host, and this is my bro, my buddy, my amigo, pal, partner in crime, compadre, my brother from another mother, my friend for life.
AJ.
There you go, AJ. Good timing. Good timing.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, guys, we are.
Baby.
You what?
That's what I do.
I know. And we're so glad you're here. We're glad we're here. We're glad we could be here. But we're glad you're here, and we're looking forward to today. Well, kinda. We are on the air and live at AJ's Bar, located at 651 South Main Street in historic downtown Grapevine, Texas, where the West begins. And this isn't just historic downtown Grapevine, Texas. This is the Christmas capital of the freaking world, right, AJ? The world. World renowned. I mean, they're like
Wide world headquarters right here.
we are all decorated for Christmas. Is there any doubt when you drive into town that it's Christmas?
No.
No doubt. Do you
even at Halloween.
Yeah, that's right.
It's true.
Even at Halloween, they're playing the Hippo song.
Yeah.
They playing that this
God, I
year?
hate that song, yes.
Are they? The Hippo song.
Mm-hmm.
I know you like that song.
That and my two front teeth. And
Hey, we're still lucky to have ours.
I want to wish you a Merry Christmas.
You hum those songs when you get home, probably.
No.
You know.
I drive home from here in silence. I don't even have the regular radio going.
I don't blame you. I mean, you get it loud and clear, right?
The other day they had it blasting, and I walked out and I said, "You must be out of your fucking mind. Turn that shit down."
Yeah.
And then they showed up here for the parade and set up across the street, and they put these massive speakers out and blasted Christmas music. And I went across the street to the city and told them, "You got to turn it down." We couldn't even hear our customers out here.
They couldn't even order.
They couldn't even order. It was so freaking loud.
Man.
But Tate doesn't want any loud music on Main Street.
Yeah, right.
Old bastard.
I could not believe that I missed the parade. When was it?
Thursday.
Last Thursday? What was I doing on Thursday? Last Thursday? I can't remember what I was doing on Thursday. But I wasn't at the parade. Was it good?
Very good.
Was it big?
Man, there was probably 50,000 people showed up here.
Really? Did you sell a lot of food?
We sold a lot of everything.
Did you?
We sold a lot of booze.
A lot of booze?
A lot of food.
That's good. That's good. That's what it's all about. It's making a little extra money on those holidays. Hey, I got to tell you this is kind of Christmassy. One Christmas morning, this cop, he's on horseback, right? And he's sitting at a traffic light, and next to him is this little girl on a brand new spanking bicycle. Cop says to the young girl, "Nice bike you got there, sweetheart. Did Santa bring that to you?" "Well, yes," she replied sweetly, with a smile on his face. The cop says, "Well, next year tell Santa put a taillight on that bike." And he gives the girl a $20 ticket. Before the cop rides off, she says, "By the way, that's a nice horse you got there. Did Santa bring that to you?" Playing along, the cop says, "Yeah, he sure did." She said, "Well, maybe next year tell Santa that dick goes underneath the horse, not on top."
That's pretty good.
That's Christmassy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Cheers.
what'd you do this weekend?
Why? What do you hear?
What I hear?
Yeah, what'd you hear?
Nothing.
Well, I didn't do anything then.
What'd you do?
Nothing.
Man, I prepped for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I prepped for work and then worked.
Did you?
Yeah, we worked our butt off this weekend.
Yeah.
It was busy.
Yeah. Christmas music.
So we had Christmas music and new parents that don't know how to find a trash can for their kids' shitty diapers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. AJ had to drag me all the way out the come here.
Or where they...
No, come here. And I went all the way to the edge of the parking lot. Long way out there.
Right next to
those trash cans, right on top of a freaking trash can practically, is a dirty, soiled, disposable diaper.
New.
Couldn't even raise the lid and put it in, just laid it on top.
Yeah.
But I had to go all the way out there just to see it.
And then all the chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk poured in the parking lot.
They give chocolate milk next door, and the kids don't drink it, so they come to the parking lot, and they just spill it into the parking lot, dump it out into the parking lot.
So you have a stained parking lot.
Chocolate milk all over the damn place.
Oh, man. What did you guys do this weekend? Well, since you can't talk back, we'll just say we hope you had a great weekend, and we hope that your prep time for Christmas is going as well as ours. And we hope this Christmas season you'll drop by AJ's on Main and check out what AJ has to offer here, right, AJ?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Barside Jive is sponsored by the Zoo.
The Zoo.
On vocal.
The Zoo. The king of classic rock, got those deep cuts, B-sides, all that stuff you'll never hear on corporate radio. The Zoo is streamed universally, 24/7, 365 at vocalnow.com. Vocal is intentionally misspelled with a K. Vocalnow.com. As I told you earlier, my featured guest today is the longtime tour manager for the English rock band Led Zeppelin, Mr. Richard Cole. There's Richard right there. The interview was recorded on June 29th, 2020, and though we had another interview scheduled the following week, due to his hospitalization and battle with cancer, he had to cancel. As it turned out, this was Richard's last interview as his condition continued to decline until his passing from this world on December 2nd, 2021, just a few days ago. Well, AJ, got some presidential news. The president is again in the office this morning, signing another executive action. I think we actually have a live shot. Let's go there now. The president was actually asked by reporters his intentions concerning the 2024 election, and Biden said that he has been told that he is running in 2024.
He got the word in.
For all you Biden fans, you got something to look forward to. The rest of us don't. Now he ain't doing it. Yeah, it ain't gonna happen. I got money on that one. What are you looking at your watch for?
Because my watch, I got a message on it. See?
Are you bored?
No, I got a message on it.
What's it say?
It says, because you've been a good boy.
Because you've been a good boy. Yeah, I know that ain't right. I know that ain't right. Oh, we got a PSA. You know which one it is, AJ? PSA? Okay, here we go.
Your testicles and you. Take a good look. These are the unlucky ones. These unfortunate souls are suffering from ESS, enlarged scrotum syndrome. Here at the Atlanta Genital Institute, teams of doctors are at work around the clock to cure this dreaded affliction. Hi, I'm Dr. Zillman, and I'd like to talk to you about your testes. The human testicle is not unlike a balloon. Sometimes it is empty. And sometimes it is full. And sometimes maybe this will help you understand. Just remember that your testicles, when treated with love and care, will give you years of maintenance-free service. But if abused, well, the inevitable conclusion. So next time, do the smart thing. Don't let anything come between your testicles and you. Thank you.
Nothing like PSA, right?
Nope.
You enjoy that one, don't
I
you?
do.
I like the little animated part where he's brushing his top of his nuts. All right, guys. Christmas, man. Thanksgiving flew by so fast. I think I got a nosebleed, but we're like Christmas now. I mean, it'll be here like in 19 days, right, AJ? 19 days.
I haven't even bought one Christmas present.
Yeah, you better hurry.
No.
19 days. And those aren't. I guess they're all. Now we got Amazon on.
I think it's going to be easier to say no. They didn't have it in stock.
Oh yeah.
It's on the boat.
Oh, I was going to get you this, but they didn't. It was out.
Yeah.
I have to wait till after Christmas.
Better luck next year.
Better luck next year. Well, guys, you know what it means when Christmas time rolls around for ODC, because it means mom's mashed potatoes. That's right, guys. No one can make mashed potatoes like my mom. And that reminds me of a story.
All right.
So this lady goes to the doctor and complains that her husband is totally losing interest in sex. The doctor gives her a pill, but warns her that it's really experimental. So he tells her to slip it into his mashed potatoes at dinner. So that night, she does just that very thing. About a week later, she's back at the doctor where she says, "Doc, the pill worked great. I put it in the potatoes just like you said." It wasn't 5 minutes later that he jumped up, raked all that food and the dishes onto the floor, grabbed me, ripped all my clothes off, and ravaged me right there on the table. The doctor says, "I'm sorry, we didn't realize that pill was that strong. Our foundation will be glad to pay for any damages." "Nah," she says, "that's okay. We're never going back to that restaurant anyway." You ever had any excitement like that in here?
Yes.
Really?
I had a dude came up and he told this chick that was sitting out there that he was trying to raise awareness about toe sucking, and convinced the lady sitting on my patio to let him suck her toes on the patio at like
Wow.
5:30 in the afternoon.
Were they clean toes?
No, he took it right out of her shoe and put it in his mouth.
How long did this go on?
Man, it went on for like 20 minutes out there.
Serious?
Yeah.
What'd she do?
Just sit there. At one point, we brought her food to her. She was eating her food while he was sucking her toes. So finally, he left. And when he left, Lisa goes out there and she goes, "Okay, I'm going to need to know the whole story on this. Do you know him?" "No." "You've never seen him before?" "No." How did he convince you to let him put your toes in his mouth?" She said, "Well, he just asked, and he told me that he was he told me that he was bringing awareness to the whole event of toe sucking." He
Wow.
put it in his mouth right out of her shoe, DC.
Wow. Only at AJ's on Main, guys. That's just another reason you should come here and enjoy some of this fine barbecue and amazing drinks. In fact, let's talk about what we're drinking today, AJ, because this is something really special.
This is You'll Shoot Your Eye Out from Karbach.
Guys, AJ not only has You'll Shoot Your Eye Out by Karbach, but he's also got the leg lamp to prove it. He's got the leg lamp. He's got the leg lamp tap handle. And I was actually telling AJ today that I watch Christmas Story every single year over the Thanksgiving weekend. It's just one of the shows I watch. And so I watch usually Christmas Vacation and always Christmas Story first.
You know, I've never seen Christmas Story. The whole thing.
It's unbelievable.
I've never watched it.
I mean,
I've never sit down and just watched from the beginning to the end. I've seen the funny parts, you know.
Yeah.
The singing, rah, 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 you know,
Yeah,
cracking
yeah,
up stuff.
yeah.
Sticking his tongue to the pole, the lamp.
Yeah.
Fragile, must be Italian.
Yeah,
I got it
yeah.
all.
Yeah.
But I've never actually just sit down and watched it.
Dude, it's great. It's a classic. You got to do it. And then I transitioned from, you know, Christmas Story and Christmas Vacation. I always love to watch Christmas Vacation. And then, and I love the scene in Christmas Vacation when they ask the grandmother to say grace. She says the Pledge of Allegiance. You've seen that all the way, haven't you?
I've seen that. That's one of my favorite
Dude,
ones.
I
love all the vacation ones anyway, though.
I do too. I love that movie. So, and then I transitioned to right before Christmas, like the day before Christmas Eve, I'll start my diehards, and I've got the whole collection.
They're all Christmas.
The first, yeah, exactly. I watch the first Die Hard, and I go all the way to the last one, which some people don't say they don't like. I loved them all. They're all different, but I loved them all. Well, the first and second one are kind of very similar, but then
Yippee-ki-yay.
motherfucker. But I love those movies. Those are totally Christmas time movies for me. And I love opening the window, watching the snow fall if it does that year, or, you know, watching the sun beat down. 75-degree temperatures at Christmas time.
We don't have a fall. It just gets so hot in summer it burns the leaves off the tree.
I know. Like today, it's kind of cool, but tomorrow it's supposed to be back up in the high 70s.
Yeah.
And then 80 like in a day or two. So, you know, you never know. But anyway, I'm sure they want to move on with the show because we're probably boring you guys to death. Are we boring you? Well, they can't talk back, so we won't know.
Are you entertained?
But we are drinking You'll Shoot Your Eye Out. It's a great amber by Carbach. Carbach is located in
Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas, birthplace of AJ. Mm-hmm. Ooh, oh, and I've got, AJ, we got a shot. What are we drinking? What's our shots?
Well, you're drinking mezcal.
Mezcal.
And I'm drinking bourbon.
Mezcal and bourbon. I'm going to tell you that mezcal is, what brand is that?
El Silencio.
El Silencio. Who distributes that?
I think that's Southern Glazers.
Southern Glaciers. Well, I need a bottle of, guys, I need a bottle of a good mezcal for Christmas. See, some of you guys hook me up. All right, where we at? Oh, got a tequila meme. Here we go. I don't always drink tequila, but when I do, I don't remember shit from the night before. And there is a whole lot of truth to that statement, right, AJ? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Guys, be sure to check out my YouTube channel. Just search Barside Jive Live at youtube.com and click subscribe, and then click that little bitty bell to receive notifications when I post new content. You guys are there right now, so click it now. Click it now. Click it now. What does it sound like, AJ?
Bing.
There you go. AJ's got the best freaking bell, doesn't he, guys?
What I do. Thank you.
He's got the best freaking bell ever. And it's free, guys, to you guys because we love you. You're special. You're super. We like you. That's why it's free. And that'll almost bring us up to our featured guest segment, which is sponsored by our friends over at
Foghat Cellars.
That'd be right.
Hi DC, thanks for having us on your show. And for you folks, I'm Roger of the band Foghat, and these are our wines. Foghat Cellars. This is a Chardonnay from Monterey County, absolutely delicious. 2014. We have 2013 Pinot Noir from Monterey County. It's absolutely fabulous, a wonderful drinking wine. If you like Pinots, you'll love it. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon from Paso Robles. All our wines come from Central Coast of California. Steve Rasmussen is our winemaker, though in fact myself and Linda actually get involved in the making of some of our wines. Drink, enjoy, go to foghatcellars.com to find out how to get them. Thanks, bye.
That Roger Earl is a super guy. Super.
Yeah. So if you're going to order some wine, don't forget to use our special coupon code Barside Jive at the checkout screen for 20% discount off of your purchase. And even better, you can get an autographed bottle by the legendary drummer, Roger Earl, the only remaining member of the classic Foghat lineup.
And he is a superhuman
dude.
being, full for the city.
You know, the other day I had a picture pop up on Facebook, a memory of the night that they were in here.
Yeah.
It was me and Roger and Carlos's daughter, Celeste. when we were
Oh,
all here.
okay, yeah. What a fun night we
It was
had.
a good night, man.
Oh, we had with Charlie Hunt and all those guys. What a fun Foghat kind of night.
Yeah.
We even drank some of their wine on
Yes,
this
we
show.
did.
Yeah.
They sent us a case out here and
Syndicate. I got to tell Linda, send us another one.
sent Morgan a real nice card
Yeah.
thanking her for taking
All
care
that
of her.
tequila. Thanking you for emptying those tequila bottles. I know we had a little bit down here on my end of the bar. Between Charlie and Debbie and me, we had a lot of tequila that night. A lot of tequila. I don't even remember how I got home. I don't even remember when I got home. Oh, hey, I almost forgot, AJ. Damn it. Our warning. You ready?
Yeah.
Alcohol consumption will make you believe you are whispering. We assure you that you are not.
Lisa, you are not whispering.
Lisa. Regular.
She works for me, but when she
Oh.
gets off the clock, she has a couple drinks, and man, she's loud.
Really?
Loud.
And she thinks she's whispering, but she's not.
No, she knows.
No, she knows she's loud.
Oh,
she
she's just
don't
loud.
care.
Wow. You know what? It's time for another PSA. Can you believe we've got one more?
No way.
Let's see what it is. Yeah, let's see what it is.
Joyce, Ricky, hey, thanks for the hard work. Uh-huh. Great. Listen, seriously, you're fired. Go for Ricky. Hey, how's that retarded kid of yours? Still retarded? How about you give me a call after you finish ovulating? Say hi to Mom. I gotta go, another call. Hey, Chaz, buddy, you were loaded last night. I can't believe you brought that wounded moose home. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the phone. Hot mommy alert. Uh-oh, she might be the nanny, huh? Breast milk, Kahlua, love it.
That's right, AJ. We got to watch out for them time machines, right? Guys, as I mentioned earlier today, my guest is Richard Cole. Shortly after entering the music business in 1965, he became responsible for tour management of such prominent British invasion acts like The Who and the Yardbirds. Not long after the Yardbirds disbanded, their then session guitarist, Jimmy Page, introduced Cole to his new band, Led Zeppelin. Cole's prolific collaboration with Led Zeppelin lasted for 12 years, almost the whole length of time that band was together. Zeppelin singer Robert Plant recently paid tribute to his former associate on Twitter, sharing a blurry photo of the two and writing, "Farewell, Ricardo. Sadly, no more tall tales. Brave to the end." Guitarist Jimmy Page added in an Instagram post, "He was a brother and a friend to the end. Goodbye, my dear friend. They were special times, and so were you." Well, I'll be right back with Richard Cole after this quick break. Today's break music is newly released "You're Gonna Get It" by Dallas-based Evil Fraley. I think.
Fucking amateurs.
Where's Tony when you need him? Okay, we go to the music, to the interview, we're done. Well, we'll go to...
On a day like any other, to go home to meet your mother. Got a note from a teacher. Mama said, boy, you better keep her. We like the same bands, we like the same songs. Loves to rock and roll all night long. Oh yeah. She wants a black jacket, Black Sabbath records on the radio. And at the end of the road, I pulled her in close and whispered in her ear, "You're gonna get it. Ooh, you're gonna get it. Anything you need, it's guaranteed, alright." Let me take you down, yeah, down to the ground. With a black tooth grin, won't pull you in. It's the last thing you're gonna know, like the back of my hand. Oh yeah. Give me a black jacket, some Black Sabbath, crank it on the stereo. And at the end of the night, I pull you in tight and said, "Oh, you're gonna get it. Yeah, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get what's coming." We like the same bands, we like the same songs. Loves to rock and roll all night long. I want a black jacket, some Black Sabbath records on the radio. And at the end of the road, I pulled her in close and said, "Ooh, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get what's coming."
And it pays out at every score. Every score you get $125.
Really?
So when the game starts, 0-0, whoever's got 0-0 gets $125 right at the beginning of the game.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey,
And then let's just
I'm
say that it
DC,
stayed 0-0
host of Barside
all the way
Jive.
through.
Richard Coe
Say
was the
that
tour
final
manager
game
for
was
Led Zeppelin
20 to
for
30.
12 years.
If you have 0-0,
He has
you
also
want
traveled
everything
with
that's
other
left
rock
in the bottle.
bands and artists,
If you have
including Black Sabbath, The Who, Eric Clapton,
That's pretty good.
The Yardbirds, Three Dog Night,
$50 a square.
Lita Ford, Ozzy Osbourne, and Vanilla Fudge, as well as many others. No one knew Led Zeppelin like Richard Coe. The band's tour manager for more than a decade, Coe was there when they burst onto the music scene, achieved cult status, cut platinum records, and transformed popular music. Second only to the Beatles in sales for years, Led Zeppelin was rock's premier group. But unlike the boys from Liverpool, the excitement of this band's music was matched by the fever pitch of their antics
Just drop
on
something over there.
and off the stage.
Well, you
He
picked it-
authored
did you
Stairway
pick it
to
up?
Heaven, Led
Drop
Zeppelin
something in it.
Uncensored, in 1992, which has been described as one of the best tell-all rock biographies ever. Richard is at his home in England, and I'd like to welcome him to the show. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Well, morning here in America, evening, I would assume, in England.
Right.
Richard, I would like to talk about your experience growing up in Kensal Rise.
Kind of had a little bit of
Kensal
setback.
Rise was,
We can't get some
I
more
tell you
items
what,
in
it's
until
changed now, but it was like a
until
working
now.
class,
So we probably won't grow until
not
January.
not a
Because
rough
just- we
working
couldn't get a
class
lot of stuff
area,
in.
but it was northwest
It'll
London,
be all right. We'll get it in.
Okay.
between Kilburn, Harlesden, and the Harrow Road, and Ladbroke
Still
Road.
gonna get some money. Still, we'll make some money.
It was
Yeah, I wanna get into that still.
actually, when you look, I mean, now, I mean, it was a lovely place to live, actually, although I didn't appreciate it then. You know, the houses around there now are over £1 million each. I mean, it's become a very popular area for people to want to live in. But
Right.
growing up, it wasn't quite like that. It was more sort of working class people around most of it.
Right.
Library's pulling in.
Tell me about your family, Richard.
My mother was Irish, and my father was from Paddington. He was an aircraft engineer. He used to be a metal architect, and then he went to work for Rolls-Royce. And hang on a minute. All right, see you later. Bye, Robert. Sorry, that's the builder leaving.
I can't believe he died.
No, it was a nice child. I'm an only child.
That
There
Richard
were
Coe.
a few
that
other
guy.
kids on the sort of small block where I lived. There was about 7 or 8 houses along each block.
Prostate.
I mean, there was how many? One Queen's Park, King Edward's Park, round the block. There was about three parks at least in short walking distance.
Now, I mean, today's saying
One of them had an outdoor swimming pool and cricket nets and football pitches and stuff like that. Then the others were more like playground parks, you know, with bushes and the kids sort of roundabouts and all things like that. And it was a nice area. The canal wasn't that far away if you wanted to go down there. So, no, it's just, I suppose I say, just a normal sort of London area.
Did your parents see that early on that you had an interest in music?
I don't think so more than anyone else. You know, I mean, obviously, I'd like to watch when there was music stuff on the television. But I don't think they really, I wouldn't say they noticed anything. I mean, all kids had, I had a record player when I was about 13, I think. I bought the first one. I was more into cycle racing and stuff like that. So they wouldn't really notice that I was interested in music. I mean, it was just, at 15, I started going down the road when I started working down the local youth club. And then they used to have 30 minutes for dancing after after the whatever you did down there, fucking around actually. And then this sort of a bunch of people in there are slightly older than me, maybe 16. They were the mods, and there was a few of us that sort of followed that path, and that path was more about going to ballrooms to dance. There wasn't a great deal of live bands. I mean, the Lyceum, they had a band, like a band orchestra type band, and then they would play records, and then the band would come back on. It was things like that, and that's how quite a lot of them were. But then later on, when I was 17, I started going more into Soho, because a lot of the places kind of closed down or things just changed. And I started going into, I don't know what you would call them really, clubs. I mean, cross between, I suppose, what we now call discotheques or that type of thing. That was all records. No, hang on. There's a scene club where I used to go mainly in Soho. They had bands there. Who played there? There were variation of bands. There was a time when the early soul bands and stuff like that were coming along. Also jazz bands. So there was a whole mixture of stuff going on there.
When you got your first record player, what kind of music were you listening to?
Well, 13, 14, I don't know, I suppose Elvis Presley, stuff that was more or less in the charts, which you would hear somewhere first, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't following any blues or anything like that. It was just more that was sort of popular music of that time.
Right. More from America.
Not so much really from America. I mean, I did buy quite a few, because there was a disc jockey at the Lyceum where I used to go called when I was 40. No, it was purely no. It wasn't until I was 15, but I was you would hear the American music.
Mm-hmm.
You rarely didn't hear it that much on the radio, except for Elvis Presley, a few other giant ones. It quite restricted. I mean, it was a radio station that came in, I suppose, what year, but I don't know, 62 or something. 62, 63, I don't remember exactly, called Radio Caroline, which were the pirate radio stations. So they played, that's where a lot of the American music came from.
Right. Now, I believe I read that although you did okay in school, that you were told by, I guess, the principal that maybe you needed to go to work.
Yeah, they didn't particularly, because my birthday was the day that they started the new term. They sort of palmed me off to go to work. They got rid of you quick. They wanted you out of school, really, I think, as quick as possible.
Uh-huh.
You were a bit of a handful. So I started, the kids went back to school and started the term, which was supposed to be the spring term from January to whenever. And I went to work.
So were you a handful?
Well, I suppose so, but nothing that much, really.
In what way, Richard?
Oh, I don't know what way, really. It just didn't really, I don't know, I did more what I wanted to do if I could.
Yeah.
Not really fighting too much or anything like that. I mean, I think they just, they wanted to, they just, as I say, they wanted to move people out when they came to 15. If they could move you out, then they moved you out. When you were 15, unless you were in a grammar school, then I think that went on till you were 16. But school finished when you were 15. So I think that was sort of the whole idea really behind it. Once you were 15, then they figured you should go to work.
Right. Well, what kind of work did you go into?
I went into a factory welding milk churns. But I didn't stay there very long. I found out there wasn't a lot of money in it, and so I left there and I went into electronic wiring, and I didn't like that, so I left there and I got a job loading lorries with cardboard, and I lasted a day in that, and I didn't like that, and then I became a scooter mechanic, and I had an argument with the owners, and they got rid of me. And then I got a job as what they call a vanguard or van boy. It was unloading the lorries and travelling. My route was the city in Essex and a few places like that, which I did until I left there Christmas 1960, I suppose it was. And then I wanted a trade, so I wanted to be an apprentice. So I got a job with a company called Lions, which are a food company, as an apprentice sheet metal worker. But then I was on a 6 months trial, and after the 6 months, they got rid of me because I didn't have a lot of interest in it. I was more interested in polishing up parts of my motorcycle and stuff like that. So 16. Then I went to work in a warehouse in a supermarket, and that didn't last very long. And one day I was walking around the corner. They were doing a lot of buildings in London, all over England then. It was after the war. So I was walking past, and the guy asked me if I was looking for a job. And I said, well, I don't see why not. And he said, well, go and ask Ernie in there. Tell him you're a carpenter's labourer. I said, what's that? He said, don't worry what it is. You just tell him that's what you want. He said, because they'll give you a job. And so I ended up being a carpenter's labourer doing the shuttering for all the concrete work. And well, I like working on the construction. And then you only get to a certain point with the shuttering, and then they finish off the building, and so they were going to not fire you. They just get rid of you. You pay by the hour. But I got on well with the foreman. And he said, you're always messing around and doing stuff with the scaffolders. Do you want to go on the scaffold? And I said, oh, yeah, I'd like that. So he said, I'll ask the supervisor. So they gave me a job as a scaffolder, or learning to be a scaffolder. I mean, the scaffolder's labour, I suppose is what we call it. And so that's when I got into scaffolding, when I was about 17. I mean, you're supposed to have been 18, but they sort of waived that. They weren't that bothered about health and safety much in those days. So I did that till I was 18 and a half, something like that, no more than 18 and a half. And then I went to Spain on a scooter when I was 18, sort of August that year, that was August 64 by then. And by then we were still going to the scene club places, hanging out in Soho in the West End. And how I got in the music business was it was a band down there. And I've been talking to the guy. I had no really intention of going into the music business. It's just that the guy that I'd seen packing up the instruments one day before I went to Spain wasn't doing it anymore. The band were doing it. And I asked the band where he was, where the guy was. He said, oh, the road manager. I said, he left. I said, you looking for a new one? And they said, well, no, we can't make it all. So I said, well, I'd like the job. And, we got talking and this and that. He said, do you know anything about it? And of course I said, yes. And I told him I knew about electronics and I travelled a lot. And anyway, I talked him into giving me a job. So that was my first job, was with Ronnie Jones in the night time. I suppose it must have been about November, December 1964. So that's how I got the music business.
After that first band, what happened next?
Well, once I kind of learned roughly what it was all about, I wanted to go with the bands, what we're supposed to call pop bands in those days. And obviously I wanted to go with one that had a record with the charts. So I was talking to a guy I knew, Richard Green, who was a journalist on one of the music papers. And I asked him if he knew of any of the bands that may want an assistant. And he said, well, try this band Unit 4+2. So I called up their management company, and their road manager was leaving. And so he said, well, yeah, why don't you come along and meet us? So anyway, in the end, I didn't. They only had one road manager, and I took over from him. So the band had just had a number one called Concrete and Clay. And so I learned a bit more from them because it was, I used to travel on my own in the van with all the instruments.
Right.
After the hit record, they'd all been able to afford to buy cars, so they all sort of traveled separately.
Wow. Well, you've been tour manager for a number of amazing bands and leading up to Led Zeppelin. And I read a little bit about the Who.
Right.
Tell me about your experience with those guys.
Well, I got the job. I left Unit 4+2 and I was going back to Spain again. And I was at a party at the Moody Blues House, and there was a guy there called Mike Shaw, and he asked me if I wanted a job with the Mersey Beats, who the company were managing. They also managed the Who, but I don't think I knew that at the time. I wasn't really sure. And so I said, no, I don't really want to go any work. I'm going off to Spain for a few months, and which I did. And I went to Spain and Morocco and a few other places. And when I came back, I thought, oh, well, I better see about getting the job. And I had this guy, Mike's phone number, and I called him up and I said, is that job in the Mersey Beats still going? And he said, well, they actually changed the name to the Merseys at that point. So he said, no, but I need someone to take over with the Who. So I said, well, all right, then that's fine, I'll do that. So he gave me a job with the Who. And their guy had just left, Cy. He was actually a musician, and there was another guy there, Alan. And I don't know, I suppose I went round and picked up the van or whatever, and I started with the Who. They told me where I had to go, and I had to go. Obviously, went to the office to get a float and stuff like that. And I think they were doing some. I forget where the first show was. It could have been in Scotland, for all I can remember. I definitely remember doing one in Scotland because we went to stay at the Caledonian Hotel. And basically what happened was Keith Moon and John Impus lived pretty close to my parents, and they lived with their parents. So I would drive round and pick them up because they used to like to travel in the van. They couldn't drive like Roger and Peter. So they would travel in the van with me most of the time. And the other road manager, Neville, or Alan or Neville, then Alan went and then Neville came into Mersey. So that was travelling with the Who. I mean, they were obviously a lot different to Unit 4+2. Well, I'd never seen anything like them before. I mean, I'd seen them some months before when they were the High Numbers. They played at a club I used to go to, as called The Scene in Ham Yard in Soho. But then by this time, they'd had a hit record I can't explain, and maybe 2 hit records, I think Anywhere Anyhow as well. It was just before my generation, which basically changed everything for me.
Right.
So, it was, and also, Keith and John, I would drop Neville off the other road manager, and Keith and John, I would go with them when we go to the nightclubs and all those sort of places, and I'd drop them off home at night, and hot night, I mean, it's morning usually, early morning, and then, pick them up and off we go to the next gig, And then I think it was after, I know when it was, after a gig in Liverpool, they wanted me to rent a car for them and drive them to the next gig, which for some reason I think it was Norwich, but I could be wrong. And so I rented a car for them, and they liked that idea. And then Neville found a friend of his to do the equipment with him, and so I ended up driving Keith and John around more than doing the sort of road management side.
Oh, okay. Were they, especially Pete and Keith, their personalities the same off stage as they were on stage?
Pretty well. It depends what you mean. Personalities off stage. I mean, Pete's was slightly different. I mean, it was a bit quieter off stage, but Keith wasn't much different off stage or on stage.
Yeah.
John was the same. He was quite, quiet on stage and off stage. And Roger was just Roger,
Yeah. How many years were you with the Who?
I was with them from I think September or something, 65 till July 66, because I lost my driving license.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so once you haven't got a driving license in that business, at that time you were finished. But then I got an international permit, but you're not allowed to drive in England with that. So I think I went to the south of France actually after that. And then when I came back, I got a job with a band called Freddie Mac and the Mac Sound. And the couple of guys who ended up in Procol Harum were with them, BJ Wilson and Alan Cartwright was a bass player for them at one point. And I had a friend of mine did the driving and I took care of the equipment. So that's how I managed to get that job. And when that was over, I think I must have got my license back. The next job I got that was my first tour managing job was with the Young Rascals when they came to tour in England. So that was, I could have been November 66. It may have been in December. And then when they went back to England, the Searchers needed someone. So I went out on the road with the Searchers for a while their road, I think their road manager was in operation or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that finished on the 31st of December 66. And then after that, it was the New Vaudeville band where I first met Peter Grant. He was their manager.
Okay, gotcha.
So then I would go, there was a tour manager, that was a purely tour managing job with the Young Rascals. The Vaudeville band was, road manager, do everything type of job. It wasn't until 68 when I went out with the Yardbirds in America. That was the first. After that, they were all tour managing jobs. Where you had nothing to do with the equipment. You didn't have to set it up. You looked after the band and all the other arrangements.
Is that where you first met Jimmy? Was that with the Yardbirds?
Yeah, I first met him at his house when I was at the New Vaudeville band. I'd been asked to go down there to pick up some equipment for the Yardbirds. So that's when I first met him. And then the next time I seen him was when they flew to New York with the Yardbirds to start that tour in 1968.
You tour managed for the Yardbirds as well, right?
Yeah, that was actually because I'd left the Vaudeville band because I lost my license again. And then I went to New York and worked for the Vanilla Fudge. And then I left the Fudge and went with the Yardbirds as a tour manager. And then from then on, I was a tour manager. So it was just Jeff Beck, Rod Stewart, all the, Peter Grant's bands, Terry Reid, and then Led Zeppelin.
Right. Richard, I got to ask you, how come you keep losing your driver's license?
Speeding.
Is that all?
Yeah. In those days, yeah. I lost it with the New Vaudeville band because they used to do cabaret and used to have to do 2 different venues a night. And there wasn't much time to get from one venue to the other. So you'd have to pull the equipment down, put it in the van, drive, and then set it up again.
So it was speeding between gigs?
Yeah.
Primarily?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I got to ask you a question about the Who. I know that a lot of times you had the responsibility of taking care of the equipment. How did you piece together all that equipment that the Who destroyed?
Well, guitar, the only real problem I had was when Keith really went nuts one night and he smashed his drum kit completely up. And luckily, I'd had a drum kit. I thought I might be a drummer one day. So I had to lend him my drum kit, which he smashed up as well because he didn't like it. The rest of the stuff we used to have to repair.
Wow. Well, it must have been a lot of repairs, and of course Pete's guitars.
Yeah, I mean, you can only do so much in the repairs. I mean, I suppose you'd have to go and buy a new one. I mean, it was a lot different in those days. It wasn't like a guitar tech now. I mean, I had no idea whatsoever, and I think did Neville have much idea either of even changing the string on the guitar, let alone tuning the thing. You know, if they broke a string during a performance, then the performance would stop, and Peter'd have to change the string himself.
Yeah.
You know, same more or less with the drum kit.
Right.
Not
Right.
like now where, you know, they use God knows how many guitars and they got drum techs. Most of them, I think, were musicians, because they're really good at what they do. You know,
Right.
I mean, you have to remember in these days we were all chancers. I mean, you know, the wave of musicians and stuff coming out, everyone was sort of new at the game.
Yeah.
And we're all basically kids. So there wasn't, most road managers got the job because they were the one when the bands were sort of, you know, forming or doing the odd little gigs around the town they lived in. They were the one maybe who owned the van or something. So then he became the road manager, and all of a sudden maybe they get a hit record and things, you know, he would become the road manager. I think with the Beatles, I don't know how Neil started, Nell Aspinall, but I think that Mal Evans, I think he was a doorman or something at one of the clubs when he went to work for the Beatles. And then obviously Ian Stewart, who was with the Stones, he was actually the piano player originally. And
Right.
then Andrew Oldham sort of ousted him but offered him the job as a road manager. So when I first met him at the London Palladium, I think in 1966, when I went to see the Stones, well, I didn't go to see them, I was with another band, helping a friend of mine out. There was just Ian loading up the band. So it wasn't a sort of, you know, I don't think people that much were inspired to become road managers. I think just in most cases in the early days it just happened, and of course as the business sort of got bigger, then I think, you know, more people latched onto the idea of, maybe I can become the road manager. You know, there's quite a few of them, you know, like me, didn't even know any of the bands that they worked for, you know, before they went to work for them.
But if it hadn't been for music, you might have been doing something completely different, right?
Yes, but how, you know, that was just that, I don't know, it just happened that I've been traveling in Spain, and liked the idea of lying on the beach and getting drunk and chasing girls and things. So the music business seemed like the next best thing to me. So that's why, you know, that's what appealed to me originally with it all.
So you already knew Peter Grant.
Mm-hmm.
You knew Jimmy.
Right.
And prior to being hired as tour manager for Led Zeppelin, did you encounter John Bonham or John Paul Jones?
Yes. John Bonham I encountered when I was with the Searchers. I didn't know till one day we were sitting on a plane together. But when I was with the Who and when I was doing the equipment with bands, you'd often get the support bands. I mean, in the case of the Who, Jim Capaldi and Dave Mason always used to turn up at a gig we do in Malvern, and they would help me carry in the instruments. And so I would let them have a little play on the drums and help me set the drums up and play on the guitars. Well, obviously, you know, band like the Searchers or the Who, they're really good equipment. And when I played, I believe it was Birmingham Town Hall or somewhere, it was New Year's Eve 1966, John Bonham was in the support band. And I let him set up the drums and have a bang around on them. But as I say, that's my first encounter with him. And John Paul Jones, the first band I worked for, Ronnie Jones and the Nighttimers, when I went to see them just after I left, they'd got a new keyboard player who was John Paul Jones. So that's when I first met him. But Robert, I never met before.
Oh, okay. So how did that happen that you wound up being hired by Peter Grant as the tour manager for Led Zeppelin?
Well, because I had done, I did the Yardbirds for him, and then right at the end of the Yardbirds tour, he asked me to fly to Canada to do the new Vaudeville band, and then before they were finished, or I finished them, and then he had Jeff Beck and Rod Stewart coming over to America. And so I went out on the road with Jeff Beck and Rod Stewart, and I believe the new Vaudeville band again I had to go back with, and then back with Beck and Stewart. And then I got a call from Peter and Mickey Mo said they needed me to go out with Terry Reid, who was another one of Peter's bands. And so I went out with Terry Reid up until Led Zeppelin flew into town on basically the 23rd of, I think it was the 23rd of December, 68. So from then on, I was with Led Zeppelin. But I mean, I asked Peter Grant after we did the Fillmore, and I think that was around about the 9th of January, 68. Peter and I were driving back to the hotel. I said, I could stay with the band because I knew I had a feeling they were going to be very big, and I liked them, and we all seemed to get on well. If I could, just stay with them instead of going from one band to another.
Right.
So he said, yes. He said, but I have to come back and live in London. So I said, fine. So that's what I did. So that's how I say. Well, I was already with them, and then I just carried on with them.
Can you, in just a few words, describe Peter Grant?
Peter, how can you describe him? He was a great manager. I mean, he'd been a road manager himself. So for me, that was very beneficial because the first time I went to America, I remember him telling me to look in the Yellow Pages for something. And I said, what the fuck? I'd never heard of the Yellow Pages. We didn't have them in England. So he knew, he sort of could guide me on different things, which I didn't know, So, I mean, we used to tease people that I was his son, it was one of those sort of relationships. But he, we had our ups and downs, obviously, over all those years. He was a great guy to work for. He knew what he was doing, and if you came up with an idea, he would listen, and work out what was the best way of doing something. I mean, he wasn't. It didn't always have to be his way. He would listen, but and if there's something he really was against, then then that was it. You would do what he wanted, and that was the end of it.
Right. Can we do the same thing and you describe each of the guys that made Led Zeppelin in just a few words?
Oh God, Jimmy was always very quiet until he got on the stage. I mean, I remember the first time I seen the Yardbirds. I mean, I'd only known Jimmy sort of socially when I went to see him at his house, and it was like one of these clockwork toys. You wind up, and as soon as you put them on the floor, they move. And he was like that. I mean, he was a completely different guy on stage to what he was off stage. And Robert. It's hard because you watch them growing up and growing into something. So it's hard to describe them when you first met them. I mean, Robert and Bonzo were quite timid. It's the first time they'd been to America, and John Paul Jones had been there, obviously been there before at some time or another. He was very confident, and Jimmy was very confident, but the other two weren't. It was unknown territory for them. I mean, Jimmy and John Paul Jones had been on the road with a lot of different bands, I believe, and Jimmy was a session man, so was Jonesy. So they were very confident musicians, which I think made a lot of difference. And then the other two sort of grew into it, and everything just grew big. and they grew closer to each other.
Well, looking at the photographs that you have in your collection of you and the guys, I mean, apparently you guys all really got along well during the time that you were with them.
Yeah, we had a few arguments, but yes, you have to get on well. I mean, you not have to. It's more beneficial if you do. But no, we did get on well. I mean, I don't think I've had, apart from the Choir Boys, which was in 1990. I don't think there was any bands I got on as well as I think with Zeppelin. I mean, the Who was different. I mean, that was another different relationship. But I got on well with all of them. But I spent more time with Keith and John. You know, I was much closer to them than say Roger and Pete, because we travelled a lot together.
Right. So, what's your relationship like with them now?
Well, we obviously don't see each other very often. I mean, I forget when I last spoke to Robert. I think a few months ago, Jimmy, I bumped into Christmas or before Christmas in a shop. You know, we don't really keep in touch with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But then I don't keep in touch with, you know, if you bump into bands. I mean, it's a strange old business. I mean, I don't know how many people keep in touch with bands they work for. Sort of goes their own way, especially after tours. Although this was obviously different because it was one sort of one long tour. You know, it's not like it is now. I mean, you were employed by the band and the management, and that was it. You know, year after year after year, if you stayed with them. Nowadays, you know, they bring you in for a tour, and as soon as the tour's finished or cancelled or whatever happens to it, then you go home and you're looking for another job. And sometimes they'll pull you out on the next tour if they want you, or other times they'll use someone different. So it's a whole different sort of a thing now. I mean, it's changed enormously. I was watching Glastonbury the other night. They got to run the whole thing on it, and I was watching Coldplay, and the lighting system and the you know, that they use today, and it's just incredible. I mean, then I seen David Bowie who played there in 2000, and his lighting system wasn't a great deal different to what I would have been using with Zeppelin about 20 years before. All of a sudden, it all seemed to jump. You know, to now, I mean, you have to have these incredible light shows and things going on.
Rewinding just a bit, it seemed like to me that you really had a love for motorcycles.
Oh, I had a few of them, yeah.
Yeah, did you race?
No, only on the streets.
Okay. What kind of bikes did you own?
I had a 650 Thunderbird, a bored out 750 Tiger 100 that was built in America. I had an Aerial Colt, Kawasaki 1000, Honda 650, another Honda 750, and a Honda 500. I preferred the Triumphs, but, you know, I lived in America for years, so, you know, I drove a lot of Japanese bikes over there. I got hit. I was coming home one night, and the car was coming at me head on, and I turned the bike, and I got knocked through the air. I mean, I went on the bike, sort of knocked me through the air 12 feet. The bike split in half, threw me another 6 feet, and after that, I thought, oh, fuck this, I'll give this up. So I was about 45 then. That was like December, and it must have been about December then to November 1989. I was with Three Dog Night at the time.
Did that happen in America?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very lucky. I mean, I was wearing, you know, tennis shoes, jeans, and a leather jacket. I must have covered my head. I wasn't wearing a crash helmet or anything like that. I mean, I forget when they made it illegal to ride without crash helmets in America. It was a lot like England. They changed that law, I don't know, when I was about 18, I think.
I asked you this question about Led Zeppelin, but are there any of the bands that you or were associated with during your days that you still do keep in touch with?
I sometimes hear from some of the Choir Boys. I mean, if I see them, you know, if somebody has seen them, I still see Eric occasionally.
Eric Clapton.
Rick and Pete, yeah. Roger rarely. It's a matter of who you see. I mean, you just don't see any of them anymore. You know, and of course, I live in England now. I'm not from America, but even living in Los Angeles, you rarely bump into people. Strangely enough, like the old days where in the '60s, where they would all congregate to a club, like Tramp or Speakeasy, depending on sort of, or Scotch or St James, depending on how big a band you were and how wealthy you were. But they would all sort of hang out together more. But that sort of all sort of, I don't know when that finished. It just sort of disappeared. All that the clubs disappeared, and and a lot of the musicians hanging out with each other in that sort of social aspect of it. They may still do now. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I think this worked really well. I really appreciate your time more than you'll ever know.
All right. We'll see you both next week. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Richard. Have a safe week.
That's the music business for you.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
All right.
It's like the lunches.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys. See you soon. Bye.
Richard, thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
See you Monday. Bye-bye.
Hey, AJ, we're done. Guys, I hope you enjoyed my chat with Richard as much as I did. So sorry to see him go, but that's what happens, right, buddy?
Yes, sir.
See him again someday, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I got one more. I got you a present.
All right. It's exciting.
Right? You ready? There you go, buddy. This is just a reminder. Nothing says you're stupid like a Beto yard sign. So
You know, man, if
don't be stupid.
If I was whoever runs, Abbott. If I was Abbott, I would run a commercial nonstop with him saying, "Hell yeah, we're gonna take your